What's up everybody, Steven Z Killer here, bringing you a brand new video. But before that, 75% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed. Damn! That means two things. 75% of you guys are either returning or brand new to the channel. If so, hopefully this is the video that gets you hit that subscribe button today. Do it. What's up everybody, Steven Z Killer here, bringing another reaction to some more film theory. Now, I'm actually super excited about this. I did a reaction a while back to Kane Pixel's new series that he did, The Oldest View. Now, it wasn't really I believe it wasn't called that, but I do know the last, it was 3 videos. One was a very short, 3 to 4 minute video. Then it was an 11-minute video on what this person, this YouTuber basically, it felt like, who's going through college and stuff, stumbles upon, he goes into an area that's restricted and he is not supposed to be there. It's private property and he's technically trespassing, but he ends up finding a hole in the ground that leads to this abyss of stairs. And in the second video, you basically see him go through these stairs trying to find out where they lead. And then he finds this really far, 1 to 2 mile deep, by the way. The stairs go 1 to 2 miles deep down. And he finds this, what seems to be an abandoned mall. And then the third video, which is the biggest one, it has over 40 minutes of footage. And it's basically him coming back after, I think it was a month or so after he first explored it and got the hell out of there. He came back to rediscover that the hole's still there. He was trying to see if anyone came in, came out. He had cameras, all that kind of stuff. It was a very interesting and creepy. Also, Kane Pixel's the guy that made the very, very successful and very popular Backrooms videos in the early stages of when the Backrooms were getting really popular. And so that indicated, I think this has something to do with it, because there was even a moment where he made the person that you're watching through made a joke. Oh, I guess I'm in the Backrooms. He made a joke. I guess. So I don't know if I don't believe this is going to be in the same universe as the Backrooms, but it has canon knowledge of the Backrooms. So anyways, this is going to be very interesting because The Oldest View also had this entity, this giant walking art project basically that looked like Moist Critical. Basically chased this motherfucker down, and eventually he takes a bad step trying to escape, and he dies at the end. But somehow he gets teleported back to where the hole used to be, and the hole disappeared. He was gone, but his bodies were there. So, very interesting story. I'm excited to check out the film theory video on this because there might have been things I didn't spot. I absolutely enjoyed the story, the creepy atmosphere, everything. And of course, if you guys have other things you guys want me to react to that are very similar to that, please let me know down below. Comment if there's something popular, something hype, something creepy, horror, all that kind of stuff. You know what to do. Comment down below or join the Discord and post in the reaction ideas section. One last plug before we get into this. Check out the second channel. I have 2 editors now for the second channel. More content around the corner, and so much is being developed. Stay tuned. All right, let's get into this and enjoy it right now. Yeah. Run. Oh, that's not good when there's randomly the word "run" everywhere.
I am trapped down here. All the exits are closed and it's after me. I don't know if anyone will ever see this, but you need to know that. You need to know.
That was actually good. That was good. That was probably one of the best jump scare intros he's ever done.
Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that reminds you to never trespass on private property because you might just get stuck in an analog horror series. Ladies and gentlemen, Kane Pixels has done it again. Taking a break from working on his Backrooms feature film to give us a brand new series known as The Oldest View. And while the series certainly draws a lot of ideas and inspiration from Kane's Backrooms videos, something that the series
it was a nice little breath of fresh air, something different, and I loved it.
Itself calls out.
This is literally like the Backrooms from TikTok.
It is still very.
Yeah, see, I knew. I remember that. I remember that. It's been a while.
Own thing. In case you've missed this one, The Oldest View is a more cinematic piece than Kane's previous Backrooms videos, combining his trademark found footage style with a couple of scenes that are more traditionally shot. In the series, we find ourselves behind the camera of a college YouTube vlogger named Wyatt. In what starts off as a normal hiking vlog, Wyatt takes us to this weird hole that he found at the base of a large tree, revealing a staircase that descends straight down into the earth and out of sight. And as any good YouTuber would, Wyatt decides to enter this obviously dangerous, mysterious stairwell, all in pursuit of that sweet, sweet content. At the bottom, almost a mile
for the
ground,
content,
find something completely
even though it risks your life, I guess.
An abandoned shopping mall. But unfortunately for Wyatt, though the mall's devoid of human life, he isn't alone. Slowly, he's stalked by a mysterious monster, a large papier-mâché statue on wheels pulled straight out of the uncanny valley. A statue who seems to hate the fact that his home has been disturbed. Let me tell you, I wasn't sure that Kane was going to be able to recapture the mysterious and horrific lightning in a bottle that he found with the Backrooms, but it's been a while since a piece of media like this has kept me at the edge of my seat. And of course, just like with the Backrooms,
it was
Kane
good.
Packed this thing to the gills with tons of hidden lore and blink and you'll miss it references.
I believe someone told me that Kane. I believe when I was doing my reaction to that, I think in the comment section, someone said that Kane Pixel is going to be returning to the Backrooms now that he's done with this series. So I will definitely have to check back on Kane Pixel's stuff because it has been a while, and I'm not going to probably remember everything that happens.
Words, it was practically begging for an episode. The questions here are just too intriguing not to dive into. What is The Oldest View really about? What's with this rolling giant thing, and why is it stalking an abandoned mall? Heck, what even is the deal with that mall, and why is it a mile underground? Well, when you actually stop and do the research, underneath the layers of analog horror is a touching story about longing for the past and how to embrace nostalgia without getting consumed by it. And the craziest part, all of it is told through the lens of real people, real places, and real history. Yeah, the monster here really exists. So grab your camera phones and let's go.
That part I actually found when I was making the thumbnail for that reaction, and people, I think also people commented a few times. But when I found, when I was looking up like good images to use for the thumbnail, I found out that was a real, actual, thing.
All loyal theorists, it's time we head down the stairs into The Oldest View. So I feel like the best place to start is with a quick recap of the events that we see in the series itself. The first episode is a bit of a strange one, given Kane's previous releases. It's a lot more atmospheric and traditionally cinematic than his previous work with the Backrooms.
You have to watch all three of them to understand the first video whatsoever, because it wasn't until later I realized, oh, that's the fucking face. It's literally the creation of the monster.
Open in a forest. Here we see a man walking around picking flowers and scribbling in a small notebook. But what's interesting is that while the forest around him is bustling with life, full of the green color that you'd expect to find in the woods, the man himself is black and white. Literally monochromatic. That said, we don't stick around with this guy long, quickly cutting to scenes as someone's terrifying arts and crafts project, eventually creating an ominous mask. Wonder if that one's gonna come up again. Spoiler alert, it does. The second and third episodes take on a style a lot closer to what we've been used to, putting us in the shoes of Wyatt, the YouTube vlogger that we mentioned at the top of the episode.
What's up, guys? Wyatt here.
Wyatt takes his viewers down the mysterious stairwell that he found in the middle of nowhere, descending down and out of sight before eventually finding himself in that abandoned mall. After exploring around for a bit, Wyatt finds that all the stores are closed and that the exits of the mall just lead out to rock walls. But while it seems Wyatt is alone at first, he eventually runs into this nightmare fuel. And this isn't just some weird modern art piece. This creature, known as the Rolling Giant, starts to follow Wyatt around the mall, an inanimate object somehow coming to life and stalking him.
I'm leaving. I'm trying to leave.
Deciding that the views just aren't going to be worth it, Wyatt heads back to the stairs where he entered, only to find that he's been caved in. He's trapped in here with this murderous papier-mâché monster and only a few options. While running from the creature, Wyatt finds himself in the mall's backroom hallways, eventually leading to an office space that has a map of the mall and directions to another exit. But as Wyatt leaves the office backrooms and heads back into the main part of the mall, it's changed. It's become overgrown by plants and wildlife. Undeterred, Wyatt begins climbing.
It's like it did a time skip. Like, the mall itself forwarded itself in time, but for Wyatt it didn't.
For the exit that he found on the map, unfortunately, the rafters collapse and Wyatt falls, only for the episode to once again shift into a more cinematic, atmospheric scene, similar to those of the first episode. Here, we see Wyatt's corpse and broken phone laying in the dirt of the same forest from the beginning, as the giant looks on, hidden in the trees. So, what the heck's going on with this thing? Well, the way I see it, there are three main mysteries in the series so far. Number one, what's up with the mall? Number two, what is this monster supposed to be? And number three, what's it all trying to tell us? So let's just do our best to break down what we can, starting with
I'm
what's
excited
going
for
on
this.
in the mall. Almost immediately after discovering it, Wyatt finds a sign designating this as Valley View Center. There are also a bunch of references to the city of Dallas, Texas.
I keep seeing Dallas show
I
up.
thought this was a really strange and specific detail, so we did a bit of digging. We found that the Valley View Center is actually a very real place that actually existed in Dallas, Texas. But we should also note that the series clearly doesn't take place in Dallas, and likely not in Texas at all. First off, the flora and
It's like a copy of the mall got created underneath the earth. That's kind of how I feel it was. It's a copy of a mall, and was like a good example, like game files, different folders, stuff like that, similar to like the Backrooms with some of the items and stuff like that.
and landscape in the outdoor area that we see towards the beginning of Wyatt's vlogs looks a lot more like what you'd expect to find in Central California. This absolutely makes sense when you consider that Kane is from that part of California, but it's not just a production decision. As Wyatt's exploring the mall, he himself seems to think it's weird that he keeps seeing signs for Dallas everywhere.
I keep seeing Dallas show up, but I'm not sure if it's talking about the city. But I've seen like 2 Texas shops, and it's on a lot of signs.
So right off the bat, that's pretty darn weird, right? What's this mall from Dallas, Texas doing in California? And maybe more importantly, why is it underground?
Why is it
Well,
like
it's
2
important to note
miles
that the Valley
down
View
deep?
Center doesn't actually exist anymore. Just like most other malls in the US, the Valley View Center was hit hard by the 2000s, thanks in large part to online shopping and companies like Amazon taking much of their business. By 2012, the mall was bought out by an investment group called Beck Ventures, who didn't plan to save the dying mall, but instead demolish it and rebuild the land into a completely different shopping district known as Dallas Midtown. In fact, you can see part of Beck's plan to do this inside of the oldest view. As Wyatt's exploring the office space, you can spot several artistic renderings and publicity images displayed on one of the walls that he walks by.
This is why I love watching these videos, because he goes out of his way to find little history things, little nubs of information, and it's so good. It's so good.
The very same ones that you can find in real life if you go to the actual website for the Dallas Midtown project. See, side by side there? They are one and the same. Why is that a big deal? Well, it's at this point that we should stop and acknowledge that because this building was entirely demolished earlier this year, it means that everything we see inside the oldest view here is 100% CGI. Everything from the giant AMC to the name 8 vegetables that start with B sign, all painstakingly recreated digitally. And if the comments from Dallas locals are any indication, he did a bang-up job of bringing their memories to life. I don't just
Holy fucking shit, Kane Pixel.
bring that up to show how impressive Kane's work here is. He chose this specific mall and these specific assets on the walls for reasons. And it all comes down to the rolling giant that stalks Wyatt throughout the video. Why? Well, this leads us to mystery number 2. What's the deal with the monster? Follow me here. Like most cities do, Dallas is no stranger to gassing up their local celebrities that either came from the city or helped put the city on the map. But while most other cities would just leave it at building statues or naming buildings after that famous person, Dallas does something a little bit different with their metaphorical giants. They turn them into literal giants. See, in 2012, a group of local artists in Dallas organized something they called the Parade of Giants, where many famous Dallasonians from the city's past would be lovingly recreated as large statues. Statues that would then get rolled through the streets. You see where I'm going with this one, right? At the same time as the Parade of Giants, before the Valley View Center was sold and demolished, many of its storefronts were rented to local artists to showcase their work in a push known as the Gallery at Midtown.
This has become a haven for local Dallas artists while this mall is undergoing a transition.
Something we see referenced not only on the first sign that Wyatt comes across, but also all across the mall. One of these artists was Kevin Obregon. We can actually see his studio among others as Wyatt strolls across the mall. The giant that he
Interesting.
created for the parade? Yep, it is one and the same with the giant that we see stalking Wyatt throughout the mall. A statue who was the literal poster child for the Parade of Giants. So if these statues are meant to be real people important to Dallas history, who is this giant based on? Well, according to the description for the third episode, the creature is credited to Obregon and named the Julien Reverchon giant. If you didn't know, and I mean, why would you know this? Julien Reverchon was a botanist, someone who studies plants, born in France in 1837. Now, those factoids right there should already be connecting some dots for you. Firstly, the giant itself seems to be made of plants. Notice those massive plant-like hands. Secondly, the stairwell down to this creepy abandoned mall, it was found at the base of a large tree. Again, showing a connection with plants. And finally, our point of view character Wyatt, what's he studying in college again? Oh yeah, botany.
I was able to get a couple of trail cameras from my old botany professor.
Clearly there's meant to be a connection here, and perhaps this is a clue as to why the mall is so far underground beneath a tree. It is the roots to our story. Anyway, in 1856, Julien Reverchon and his father moved to the US, heading for a settlement called La Reunion, which is now Dallas, Texas. Unfortunately, travel took ages back in the 1800s, and by the time they eventually got there, La Reunion had basically collapsed. Instead of just turning around though and heading back to France, Reverchon stuck around and joined the nearby community of Dallas back when it was only a few hundred farmers. And from there, he was pretty instrumental in the development of Dallas into the metropolis that it is today, becoming something of a local celebrity while expanding his plant collections and teaching others about botany at Baylor University College. Reverchon Park in the city was even named after Julien after he died. Reverchon is clearly an important person to this story. Not only is this creature based on a real sculpture of the guy, but it isn't the only time that he shows up. During the third episode, when Wyatt returns to the store that he found the giant in, there's a portrait of a man in one of the storefronts, labeled Julien Reverchon. In front of it is a single twig with leaves on it, a nod to the giant and Reverchon's career as a botanist. Finally, Reverchon is also a connection to the mysterious man in the first episode of The Oldest View. Remember that guy? The dude stuck in black and white while the rest of the forest is green? Well, on IMDb, the character is credited as Julien Reverchon. He's the dude who's out here existing in nature, picking flowers, scribbling in his notebook, doing
I did find that so weird. I couldn't find a connection for that. That is so interesting.
Nasty things. Which brings us then to mystery number 3. Why? What does any of this even mean? This series
you're not wrong. Why the fuck does this even matter?
Series clearly has a lot of very specific, very regional references to real world people, events, and history. This stuff was not put here on accident. This isn't meant to be a bunch of Easter eggs or random decisions. This all means something, and I think we can decipher it starting here in the back rooms of the mall. Well, in the office, Wyatt finds himself a piece of paper that describes fire safety protocols for the Valley View Center. It is very detailed. It even refers to several other documents with numbers on them, each with a specific purpose. But if you break down the numbers, they all have hidden meanings. They're all dates that describe very specific periods of time. Document 1855-1857 can be broken down into the years 1855 and 1857, the exact date range that the La Reunion settlement outside of Dallas existed. Remember, this was the place that Reverchon was leaving France for, before the community collapsed and Reverchon was forced to move to Dallas. The next document, 1973-2023, refers to the dates 1973 to 2023. If you dig into the history of the Valley View Center Mall, you'll find that it was first built in 1973, and that the last remnant of it was demolished earlier this year in 2023. And finally, the third document references 1837 and 1905, the years Reverchon was born and died. But we can actually take things even deeper by looking at the instructions attached to each of these numbers. See, these aren't just Easter eggs, they're clues to tell us what the series is trying to say, at least thematically. Document 1855-1857, the one referencing La Reunion, refers to emergency assembly points, places to safely gather in the event of a fire, described as a safe distance from the building.
That's kind of what I felt like when I was watching it. Like, it felt like this was an underground mall bunker thing to protect from, like, something. That was one of my speculations at the start of watching it.
If it were ever to have structural issues from damage. If this is meant to be where you go in the case of an emergency, it cannot be a coincidence that the numbers are pointing to a town that ultimately didn't survive. It's pretty ironic. One that's even more interesting, though, is document 1837-1905, the one pointing to Reverchon's life. This one is talking about what people should do if the exit routes become inaccessible. In other words, this document seems to be thematically telling us the way out of this situation. The way to solve Wyatt's problem and escape from this danger is going to be looking at Reverchon himself, his life, his decisions, what was important to him, and what the giant represents throughout the series. What do I mean by that? Well, think about what we actually see the Reverchon giant doing throughout the videos. He aggressively follows Wyatt and spooks him, but he doesn't kill Wyatt. In fact, the only real indication that we have of what the giant's after, as the giant corners him, Wyatt asks,
What do you want?
and the giant shows him something strange. The lights flicker, and suddenly there's a pair of dead horses and dead men on the floor. These are clearly things that Reverchon, the real one, would have witnessed at some point during his life. These men dressed in old-timey clothes and the horses and whatnot, classic cowboy stuff, all a flash from Reverchon's past. And this sense of a flashback isn't just present here. In the first episode of the series, as Reverchon is picking flowers and the giant's being made, we can hear a song titled When the Swallows Homeward Fly. And if you listen to the lyrics, they very much lean into these same feelings of sadness and nostalgia. Quote, when the summer days are gone, when the roses fade and die, and no more is heard the song, parting, oh parting is grief and pain. This is a song about nostalgia, because this is a series about nostalgia.
Okay.
Both the good and the bad ways that you can hold on to it. Honestly, this song, this is what made everything click for me. As I was really sitting down to crack the series, the decision to tell this story with Reverchon and these themes in a mall of all places really bothered me. Like, sure, I guess the sculpture's from here, but why dive into this particular story with this man in this place? And then it hit me. Just before Wyatt exits the Backrooms and finds them all overtaken by plants, you can see this poster for just the briefest of moments. It reads, "Do you accept this impermanence?" That right there, not exactly a motivational phrase you'd expect to find in a typical workplace, especially one that has been so painstakingly recreated by Kane. No, this poster was put here to make a point. And you know what's truly impermanent in this series? The mall. It's gone. It is a vacant lot in Dallas, Texas now. Evidence of its impermanence for all to see. That is what the oldest view is about. It's a nostalgia trip for anyone from the area. And you don't have to take my word for it. Out of the nearly 17,000 comments left on the third episode at the time that I'm writing this, Kane chose to like just 4 of them, each one mentioning the strange sense of nostalgia that they got from seeing this mall that they remember but will never see again in real life. Even if you aren't from Dallas, if you're a certain age range, you're probably still going to be feeling a similar sense of nostalgia. Sure, almost everyone who's watched or will ever watch The Oldest View will have never stepped foot into the Valley View Center, but malls were very much a ubiquitous part of American culture for decades. But as more and more of life has shifted online, it is harder and harder for malls to stay in business. Many have closed their doors forever, with estimates saying that only 700 are still open in the US in 2022. Nostalgia is a powerful emotion. It's bittersweet. It also brings a certain type of comfort. Scientists have used nostalgia to alleviate depression and homesickness in soldiers, and I think that is the feeling that The Oldest View is trying to capture here despite the spoopy, scary imagery. Look back at those comments that people from Dallas left about seeing Valley View in the video. None of them were sad. They were grateful. They were happy to reminisce about this thing that was a part of their lives and is now forever gone. They were able to bask in that impermanence one final time. It was important to them to honor that memory and not to just milk it for clout and then run away from it afraid like Wyatt, which is why he eventually had to die. Impermanence is the way of nature. It's the way of life. All things eventually come to an end, and you either embrace that or else you're fighting a losing battle. That's something a botanist like Reverchon would know all too well. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory.
This was so cool.
Cut.
Oh, it makes me like it more. Like that whole series that Kane Pixel did. You know, I haven't. Let me go to his channel. Kane Pixel. I haven't seen. He hasn't done anything since that, has he? No, I don't think he has. Yeah, it's been. This was just an amazing. Like, if you haven't watched this, I know you just watched the theory and everything of it. This is seriously a unique story that you definitely have to enjoy. Watch all 3 together. I think I did the right thing because when I watched this, I watched all 3 in a row. When this dropped, that's when I watched these 2. I didn't even see. I think I saw these. I think I saw this when it first dropped 8 months ago. But I was like, eh. I was like, oh wait, this actually goes with that. Okay, I'll get to it eventually. And I didn't. And then when this dropped, I was like, okay, I'll watch all 3 together. I'm glad I did. So, anyways, show your support to Kane Pixel. Go subscribe and everything. But also show your support to Film Theory once again for giving us a banger video. Like and subscribe. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. Have suggestions? Let me know down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, subscribe and bye!